rocking my Worthy Always sweater by Cara Love. Me, of course. You can get this sweater on my website. It should be here. Um, my goodness, you guys. I've had a struggle, okay, trying to get these videos together because of my phone running out of space. But I'm here now and I'm ready to get this going. Last week, we talked about boundaries. I put a poll up on my Instagram. My Instagram will be here. I put a poll up and I asked if we should talk about boundaries or grief. And boundaries one. So today we're going to talk about grief. It's again going to be like the boundaries. We're just touching base. We'll dive deeper as time goes on. I like to touch base on what I've learned, and then I'll do research and I'll talk to my therapist and all the things, and then we can dive deeper into that. I also kind of go based off feedback too, so then I know exactly what my audience needs to learn about grief. So that helps steer my research because there's so much knowledge out there. But I want knowledge that's going to benefit me and my audience. So your feedback is always loved and appreciated. So before we dive deep up into that, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so every time I post a video, you'll be notified. Okay. Again, I do have a friend who can help after you've learned some of the stuff that I am teaching, or you're overwhelmed by the stuff that I'm teaching because you know that it can help you, but you don't know how to apply it, or whatever. You can talk to me or you can talk to her. She specializes in this. She has her credentials. This is what she does for a living. I am still studying, but I have a lot of experience in pulling myself out of the dark and insecure, the little box that the world put me in, that the church put me in, that my mom put me in. I have so much experience with that. And so I can help you the best that I can. But there's also the option of her. And so her name will be here. And so there's those options. I wanted to get those out of the way so then we can dive deep. So now let's dive deep into grief. So let's talk about some of the things that we do grieve. My goodness, at the start of this year, y'all, and I start my year in my birth month. Sorry, y'all, I just did a photo shoot. Fridays are for photo shoots. So I got makeup on and I got this necklace on that is uncomfortable. I don't wear jewelry. I just wear this and these and this one ring mainly. But anyways, so the beginning of this year was a lot. And I ended up having so many things to grieve. I was grieving the death of a loved one. I was grieving the ending of a couple of relationships. I had to let go of my dog, so I was grieving that, and I had him for 4 to 5 years. And I was grieving the life that I wanted to have, the life that I wanted to have with the people that I was letting go, the life that I wanted to have with the brother that I lost, the life that I thought I would have, the person that I thought I would be. Those are all things that we grieve and we don't realize it, but the loss, because it is a life-changing thing and that's what we're adapting to, it hits similar. I'm not going to say hits the same, because losing someone like for good, like death, that is very traumatic, but it's a similar process. I can say that. And it's all something that we have to feel our way through, which is something that's challenging because we're not taught to feel our way through. We're taught to push stuff down and put a smile on our face and act like everything's okay. And so I did not test these mics. I just realized that. So I hope y'all can hear me. But I'm sorry. I was just like, let's dive in. Let's go. So those are some of the things that we grieve. So let me talk about some of the things that I've learned about grieving. I'm also going to tag a video in the description. I wrote some notes my notes are like, y'all, these notes are a mess. but I can read them, and that's all that matters. Okay. But anyways, there's a video. There's a few little psych videos, little psych channels that I like on YouTube, and it's a cute little short 10-minute video about grief. It's about the death, like the death of a loved one, but it can definitely be applied to other things. So I do have some notes about them, and I also have, that I got from them. I have what grief has taught me, and then I have some ways to heal. So we're gonna dive in. So what grief has taught me? Grief has taught me that self-love is healing. Taking that time to love on yourself and take care of yourself is very healing. I found myself when I lost my brother, I had a lot of stuff already going on at home. I had a lot of stuff already going on with my family. I was um I'm really big on cutting people off. Okay. Now, I've learned that cutting people off is avoiding, it's not actually dealing with the situation, but sometimes it's necessary. It is what it is. You try again with people and their behavior hasn't changed and you just keep getting hurt. You gotta cut them off. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And so when I lost my brother, I was like, damn, like, what if I lost another family member that I cut off, And I was like, damn, am I tripping? Like, am I, you know, being too big headed or whatever? And so I was battling with that. I had things going on at home as far as finances go and, having to find a new place to move and taking care of my babies and things like that. And it was a lot going on. Like, we had to find, like, literally the day of his funeral, I had to go apartment hunting. It was a lot. Like, it was too much. And oh, I'm like pinching myself just because of it. Anyways, and there was like moments where like I was so consumed by that, and I was trying to make sure that I was there for my eldest niece, and I was consumed with her grief and how I felt like she must be feeling, and I put a lot of those needs above my own. And I remember that like there was days I would forget conversations, I would forget actions that I did, and like in the little moments, like it was, my mind was consumed with the grief, and I had to slow down and I had to take care of myself. I had to make sure that I was eating and make sure that I was, taking walks if I needed to take walks and things like that. And I felt like the more that I took care of myself, the better I felt. And I didn't realize that until the funeral, because I'm a person, when I grieve, I like to just cry it all out. But I didn't realize it. But the mom in me, the protector in me, the aunt in me, I held it all in. I held it all in. Like, I cried when I could, but for the most part, I held it in because I felt like my niece needed me, right? And so I held it in, But at the funeral, I was the speaker. I was like the MC or whatever you want to call it. And so um, when my job was done and I was able to sit down, I cried so much that I felt like, I started hyperventilating. Like, I couldn't breathe. I had to calm myself down. I had to like do some breathing techniques to calm myself down, because it was at the point where I was about to have an anxiety attack, because I didn't process it the way I normally process grief. And I process grief by feeling everything. I let myself feel it. I cry myself through it. I remember the positive things. And I know that me as a person, I give my flowers whenever I can. So I don't really have a lot of regrets, but I like to cry myself through it. And I did not have the opportunity. And so I learned that really knowing myself and taking care of myself is a really big part of healing for me. It's a big part of healing in every aspect, not just grief. So that was one of the biggest things that I learned, because this time I actually makeup. This time I actually did not grieve the way I normally grieve, but also this time was different because it was immediate. Usually it's like an aunt or uncle or, someone, a second aunt or, great aunt or whatever. And not saying that it's not a big loss, but this was my brother. Not to mention, I seen how my niece was being torn apart by it, and thinking about how I would feel if I lost a parent. All the things. Um, so that was one of the things I learned. The other thing is be be present and cherish the moments. Stop and smell the roses. That's a big thing. That's something that's hard for me as an anxious person. You're always thinking ahead, right? You're always thinking about the future. You're always thinking about what can go wrong, what could go right, what. So you're living in the future. And so I had started learning to be present, but now, after the grief of losing my brother, after having to cut off so many people that were so close to me, people that I thought would rise to the top with me, having to let go of them, I really feel like, damn, I wish I would have cherished those moments more. You know what I mean? I wish I would have been more present and not taken advantage of the fact that um, we may have tomorrow. I may spend another. You know what I mean? Because tomorrow is not promised. Um, the present is a gift, so we need to be present. We need to enjoy these moments. We need to soak up, just chill and be there and enjoy the laughter, the sound of your loved one's laughter, the sound of your own laughter, that smile on your face, like all that energy. Enjoy it. Stop and smell the roses. Um, that's another thing for sure. The other thing is give your flowers, honey. I learned this in church. They say, give your flowers before the person's dead. That's not the exact quote. It sounds more pretty when they say it. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something that has always held true for me. One, because my love language is words of affirmation. So I want to hear it, honey. Give it to me. But two, because it's just so powerful. We don't always hear, there's so much criticism from the outside and on the inside. And we don't always, those opportunities are going to slip. So anytime someone crosses my mind and I think about what they mean to me or how they've impacted me, or if their work is beautiful or whatever, I try my hardest to do it in that moment because I want it to be as raw as possible too. I want you to feel every bit of passion that I feel towards you in that moment. It's just so important because we're all out here feeling in the dark, trying to get by. We are all out here trying to pursue our dreams, and we're grasping for straws. We have to motivate ourselves. We have to lift ourselves up. We have to push ourselves to these limits. And it just helps to have that. Like, we don't, like, self-validation is very important, but it helps to have a little bit of like, girl, you did that. You know what I mean? So give your flowers. Do it today. Do it every day. Like I said, anytime I think about the impact, the influence that someone has had on my life, I really try to just send that text message or call them real quick. I really appreciate your honesty. Honesty. It could be something simple. I really appreciate your honesty. It's rare for me. It's rare for me to get honesty. It's rare. Like, people like to sugarcoat things. I love that you are direct with me. I love that you're honest with me. Or the work that you're doing is beautiful. It inspires me. And I'm so grateful to see what you're doing. It pumps me up. Like, little stuff like that. It don't have to be something extreme. It don't be like, you changed my life. Just give flowers. That's it's important. Nothing lasts forever. We know that. Nothing lasts forever. Relationships and people don't belong to you. So this is more so not so much the death side. Like, we don't want to, I mean, it's true for the death side of things, but it's kind of harsh. It's more so for those people you had to let go that you kind of still miss. Um, or just situations change, and so you're grieving that, or just the parts of you that you've lost that you kind of miss, but you knew it was necessary to let those parts of you go so you can grow up. Nothing lasts forever, and no one belongs to you. Relationships are like a daily choice. I choose you daily, just like you should be choosing yourself daily. putting yourself first daily. It's like that. Like, so it's just important to remember that, because I feel like when we forget that, it just makes it 10 times more harder. Like, it's like, damn, that was my such and such. Like, we put like so much weight. I don't know if that's in here, but we put so much weight on these titles, like, that's my mom, that's my best friend, that was my husband, and we put so much weight on these titles. And so it makes it like harder for us to like separate ourselves from them, and we, the weight is that we feel like these people are supposed to be in our lives forever. That we feel like these people, there's a lot of weight, there's a lot of expectations. My painting is crooked. Anyway, sorry. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of expectations tied to titles. Um, and so it's better to, one, accept people for how they are. I don't know who the hell that is calling me this late at night. Anyways, it's about to be 11 o'clock. The heck? Okay, anyway, sorry. Um, we tie a lot to these titles, right? So there's expectations, such and such is supposed to do this because they're my such and such, you know what I mean? And the truth is, nobody is obligated to do anything, no one belongs to us, it's like I said, it's a daily choice. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we take people for who they are in front of us, and we realize that nothing lasts forever. It's like, to me, it's like, it sounds bad, but at the same time it doesn't. Because for me, it's liberating. Like, for me, I remember, it's like, no one belongs to me, but I don't belong to anyone else either. So that means I'm free to do what I want. I'm free to um chase after this dream, or do this or do that. I belong to me. And so it's just the way you think about it. It's a mindset thing. But it helps. It helps. It may not help right now, like in the thick of it. Some of this stuff is not going to help in the thick of it, because I know it didn't help me. In the thick of it, all I could focus on was taking care of me, taking care of my babies, and taking care of my niece. That was all my mind was focused on. And I barely took care of me, because you got two little ones. And then I left my phone. Like, I would only, like, if she called me, I was answering it regardless if I was doing something or not. I would drop what I was doing. So it was a lot. It was a lot to handle at one time. Um, the other thing is, it's not linear. Healing, grieving, neither one of them are linear. There's ups and downs. There's going to be days where you feel cool. You feel like, oh, I can do this thing. I can be happy. I can smile. I can laugh. And then there's going to be days where you feel like you don't want to get out of bed. And that's okay. It's all a part of the process. Um, and it's something that you shouldn't beat yourself up. In the beginning, I would beat myself up about it. I felt like I was going backwards. And it's not going back. It's all a part of the process. As long as you need to feel your feelings. You have to feel your way through it. And with grief, it's more so growing around it. Um, it doesn't completely go away when it comes to death. I feel like in other situations it does, like when you're grieving, like the idea of who you thought you would be, because the more you like live and the more you love yourself, you find that what you thought and what you're actually doing is better. um and the same with like grieving people you had to cut off. You find that, yeah, you miss them, and yeah, you had some great times in the past, but like, life with you and loving yourself and not being tied to their expectations of you is better. But the death one is more so something you kind of grow around, because it's a missing person. Like, literally, their life is gone. It's not the same as you cutting someone off, where if you wanted to try to restart up something, you could. But Um, yeah. And it's okay to miss of course it's okay to miss a loved one, but the people that you had to cut off, sometimes we're hard on ourselves for missing them. I know I am. I had to cut off one person. It was like an ex, and there's I wrote a poem about it. Basically, it ended, and it ended bad, and I still miss him. And same thing with my friend. I still miss her, and I miss, I miss people that I feel like wronged me, and I feel like it's okay. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, why you miss them? Like they did this, and this, and like it doesn't matter because I think about like the moments that we had, and it's okay. The thing is, you don't go back. Missing them is cool. It's human. But the thing is, there's a reason why they're not in your life. And so don't go back. My problem is I used to like what I used to do because of my people pleasing ways or because of my anxiety attachment. I would convince myself that I was wrong and that they were right and that my needs weren't as important. It was, oh, you blew it out of proportion. It's not that big of a deal. And I would go back and I would, tail between my legs and go back and, ask for forgiveness. And just the more that I grew and the more that I learned my worth, the less that I did that. And so it's okay to miss them. It's human. And allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself to have those memories. Just don't go back to people who have wronged you. Um, and we do learn and grow, and we have to trust our growth and our healing. And other people learn and grow. And we have to trust that we can handle ourselves to stand up for ourselves and to protect ourselves. Um, so at the end of the day, you know your history, you know what you're capable of, you know how your progress and all of that. But for me, if it got to a point where I cut someone off, I really do not need to go back. If I cut someone off, honey, it had to be bad for me to have cut you off. It just is what it is. So there's no reason for me to have go back. And so I have to just be okay with missing them. And I have to recognize that it's normal, it's human, it's okay. So let's see what else I have. Those who had to be let go, don't go back. Yeah, I said that already. Reflect on the lessons. So this one is more so, I guess it can be applied to death because some people you never know when you're gonna lose someone. And so sometimes there's a lot of um, unresolved things. And so the biggest thing is to, when you're ready, because this is not something you do right away, but you reflect on the lesson. You take the lesson, you leave all that other negative stuff. Just take the lesson, leave the rest, and forgive yourself. We talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is talked about a lot. It's usually talked about forgiving the other person. And then I've even heard people talk about how when you forgive another person, it's not just for the other person, it's for you as well. But there's not a lot of talk about forgiving yourself. And it's very, very important that you forgive yourself. Um, it really is because sometimes we're carrying around a weight and no one else is carrying that weight. Like we may have wronged someone um or we tried to resolve something and we were too late and it didn't go as planned, or we feel convicted because of something we did or whatever, and we're carrying that weight around and it's hindering us. um it's hindering our healing, it's hindering our self-love, it's hindering so much. And so it's really important that we forgive ourselves. And it's hard. It is hard. I have a problem with letting go. I'm just gonna say it. I do. It is hard for me to let go. I remember everything, especially the way I felt when stuff was done. And I also remember, like, so if I feel like I did something wrong, I think about how I would feel if that was done to me, and then that feeling sticks with me. And so it is hard. It's hard to forgive yourself, just like it's hard to forgive the next person, but it's necessary that we try. And that the thing, what I do is, because I do find that I forgive people temporarily. I'll forgive them because in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I need to release that. And I'll feel the weight lift off of me, and then, like, maybe a month or two later, I'll think about it again and I'm like, ugh. And so I have to go back in and say, Deshay, we're releasing that. It does not serve you to hold on to that. What is that serving you? How is that benefiting you? What have you learned? And I think about the lesson that I learned from the situation overall, and I do the same process. I take the lesson, I leave the rest, and then I forgive. And like I said, it happens. It has to happen. Sometimes it has to happen more than once, especially like with trauma, or like really big, like people who are big in your life. It's an adjustment. You're really adjusting to the changes, and it's a lot. And so when you see, like, sometimes it's like when you see where they would have been beneficial in your life, like where they would have normally helped you, and now you're struggling in that area, you're like, damn, why did they do that to me? Why did I have to cut them off, or, or whatever, whatever the situation is. And it is hard, but like I said, for me, I just do it when I can. When I think about it and I feel that negative energy, I just do forgive again. And I just take it. I'm human. I'm human. I'm gonna have human reactions. I'm gonna have human feelings. When people wrong you, you get upset. It is what it is. The thing is, we cannot carry it with us. We cannot keep carrying it around. We all these bags. Like, if we have our hands full, how can we accept blessings? How can we grow? How can we move forward if we're carrying around so much stuff? We gotta let it go. And so, like I said, anytime I think about the wrongs that have been done to me, or the people I had to let go, or even like with my dog, I had to let my dog go, but it wasn't in my power. I didn't have, it was out of my hands. So I had to forgive myself because I did everything I could in that situation. And so I really had to forgive myself, because at first I was like, man, like, you're irresponsible and this and that. And like the negative talk was at a high because I was already grieving all this other stuff. So at that point, I was just like, and so I really had to go in and, forgive myself, and, remind myself I did everything that I could in that situation. Things were out of my hands. And I just have to hope and pray that my dog is in a better situation, and it's like I said, that can be applied to a lot of different situations. It's really about taking the lesson, leaving the rest, and asking for forgiveness, like forgiving yourself. And I do this, I've done it through affirmations. I've done it through writing a letter to myself. Um, After I did the letter, it was easier to just do it through affirmations, like on the spot. And I'll, say, I forgive you, and I love you, and I will protect you going forward. I will stand up for you. A lot of times, if I have to forgive myself, it's because I didn't stand up for myself. It's because I didn't protect myself. It's because I allowed someone to walk over me. It's because I stayed in a relationship where I was being mistreated. And when I finally decided to let that person go, I also had to forgive myself. I had to forgive them for how they treated me, and I had to forgive myself for allowing the treatment. Um, so forgive yourself. I think that was the last thing on the list of things that I have learned that grief has taught me. I'll go over what I learned from that video, and then I'll talk about some ways that I heal from grief and all forms of grief. But also at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. You know, I encourage everyone to try these things, right? But at the end of the day, you know your history. You know who you are. You know what's going to work for you. But like I said, try it. Excuse me. Um, just try what you can. Okay, let's see. So, do, 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 the video says that we all do this in our own way, which is with everything. We heal in our own way, we grieve in our own way. So don't allow society or friends or loved ones to make it seem like you should be doing this or you should be doing that. Like, grieve the way you need to grieve, honey. Like, just do what you feel like is best for you. Again, you know your history, you know who you are, you know what you need. You just have to quiet the outside voices and listen to your body. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. If you need rest, your body's going to tell you you need rest. If you need water, your body's going to tell you you need water. If you need to cry, your body going to tell you to cry. Feel those feelings, y'all. Stop being afraid to feel your feelings. It also mentioned that grieving is not just about grieving. It's adapting to the change. It's adapting to all the changes that are going to occur from that loss. And that was so deep for me because I had to adapt to so many things at once. Um, it was a lot, and it can be intense. And the important thing is, for the most part, within reason, a lot of stuff does not need an immediate response. You don't have to speed through things. You don't have to rush to make decisions. Now, as far as, of course, as far as like funeral stuff and like certain life situations, yeah. But for the most part, it's okay to take your time and to cry and to process things, because sometimes when emotions are that high, the emotions are running the show. So you have to give yourself that time to be, like I said, it's not linear, right? Grieving isn't linear. Give yourself time to be at a high before making decisions. You know what I mean? You don't want to be at a low and make decisions because you might make a rash decision. Okay, so it's a big adapt to change, and so it's just really taking your time to make those decisions. To process it task. Yeah. So the process is it's a process, not a task. That's what it says, which is really important because for me, um, when I started healing, it was a task. I felt like I needed to heal to get to a certain destination, but it's a process. Healing, grieving, it's a process. It's something that just occurs over time. It's not a task that you checking off these boxes. Oh, this is done. This, you know what I mean? It's not, that's not how it works. That's not how we grieve. And I feel like when we do that, it just makes things harder for us. Um, feel your feelings. They said it, I said it, we all saying it. Feel your feelings. Feel your way through it. Um, when we suppress it, it's only going to be waiting there for us later on. It's not like it goes away. We hide it. We may hide it well. That don't mean anything. We can hide it well, but that doesn't mean it goes away. So allow yourself to feel your feelings. It's hard, especially in a society where if women cry, they're so emotional and they're ran by their hormones. And if men cry, they're weak. But it's not true. Those are all lies. Vulnerability is beautiful. Vulnerability is healing. Feel your feelings. I'm going to say it again. Feel your feelings. Okay? Take care of yourself. And you know what's crazy is this, it says this in grief. It says this in grieving. It says this in boundaries. this is something that, because I've been studying boundaries too, so I can do more videos on boundaries. Um, it says this when dealing with family members who have mental illness. Um, Taking care of yourself is so important because your mind and body are connected. And when you take care of your physical body, you're taking care of your mental health. Um, and we forget, like, when we're grieving, like I said, I would forget. I would have a conversation with my kid and I would literally forget, and I would ask him to do the same thing that I literally just told him to do, and he's like, "Oh, I already did it, Mom, you just told me to do that." I said, "Damn." Because my mind was, I don't it was I don't even know how to explain it, but like I said, when I lost my brother, it was a lot. um my memory was like here and there. It was bad. And I didn't take care of myself for the most part. um I did more so towards when it got closer to the funeral, but in the beginning, like I said, I was forgetting a lot of stuff. I wasn't focused. Of course I made sure my kids were taken care of, but that was the extent of it. And so taking care of yourself is a big part of getting through the grieving process, grieving and healing. Um, and it doesn't have to be big. It's just like I said, listen to your body. If you know you need to lay down, lay down. If you know you need to eat, eat. Even if you don't feel like eating, like you don't have an appetite, like eat a crackers or something. I don't know. Get a snack. Have some water, drink, stay hydrated. Things like that. Just really, really take care of yourself. The other thing was, it's okay to do things that make you feel like you. Sometimes we feel guilty for moving on, and it's not necessarily moving on, it's just doing things that make us happy. And I know for a fact that me and my niece felt this. Me and her went out together a couple of times after my brother passed away. um and I remember thinking like, dang, the other family members are going to be like, they went out clubbing, you know and I did a photo shoot after my brother passed, and I felt a little guilty about that one too, because I'm like, but I what I did was I combated it because I know my brother believed in me and he believed in my clothing brand, and my photo shoot was for my clothing brand. And so I just remembered those things. I remembered the positives, and I didn't worry so much about what my other family members would say or think, or how they would feel towards what I was doing with my life and how I was grieving, because we all grieve in our own ways. But not to mention, we need to feel like ourselves, because we can lose ourselves in grief. Um, it's a dark tunnel to go down. And so it's okay to do the things that make you feel like you. And the last thing that they mentioned in the video is it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes we get so proud, or we feel like our feelings aren't as important, or we don't want to be a burden because maybe the next person is grieving as well, and we don't ask for help. Whatever the reason may be, there should be some people in your life that you can ask for help. Like I said, there's a handful of people that I trust to go to, that I know are going to listen. That's the biggest thing, is having someone who can listen to you. I don't always need advice, especially because I know what I need and what I want. Sometimes I just need someone to listen. And that's especially true when it comes to grief. So it's okay to ask for help. Just make sure you're asking the right people. So let's talk a little bit about some ways to heal. I jotted down a few. This is not all of the ways to heal, of course. And as you practice some of these, you may find some of your own ways to heal. And feel free to mention some of those in the comments, because we can all learn and grow from one another. So if you have some ways that you heal, or some things that you've learned from grief, go ahead and mention those in the comments if you feel comfortable. If you do not feel comfortable but you still like to share, go ahead and share it to my Instagram, and I will share it in a video or in the description or in some way. I will let the other viewers know so that they can learn and heal from your experience as well. So let's go into it. Some ways to heal. Acknowledging that it's not linear. Grief and healing are not linear. There are going to be ups and downs. There's waves. And sometimes the waves can feel like you're drowning. And just acknowledging that helps you to realize that it's a part of the process and you're not going backwards and it's okay. So it helps you to acknowledge the fact that it's okay that you don't want to get out of the bed. That doesn't mean you're going backwards. Um, it's okay. Um, it's okay that today you want to go sprinting or today you want to go dancing, but tomorrow you want to go drinking. Tomorrow you want to, hang out with a family member who's experiencing the same grief and you guys just want to cry and talk together about memories. It's okay that it's not linear, but sometimes we think that when we're going at a good rate, like, oh, I'm happy consistently, and then we have like a sad moment that we're not healing, and that's not true. It's just like with everything in life, there's ups and downs. Nothing is linear. It does not mean we're going backwards. The other thing is having some time alone. Um, for me, that was kind of a struggle, but when I did have some time alone, I was able to really just be. I didn't have to be a mom. I didn't have to be a friend. I didn't have to be an aunt. I was able to be me and feel what my light went out. Dang, I thought I charged that thing. Sorry y'all, it's just gonna have to be out. But I was able to my goodness, feel what I needed to feel. I think that's good enough. Um wow, I wasn't expecting to get teary-eyed. So having that time alone is very important for healing. And I think that sometimes we forget um, to have me time to take care of ourselves. Crying is very healing. It's a huge release, but not just for our mind, but for our bodies. It's a really huge release. So it's important to cry. And there are scientific facts that I won't go into, but y'all know I'm an advocate for crying. Go ahead and cry. um, feeling your feelings. There's this saying that I seen recently, and it was like you can only I don't want to say manage, but let's use manage because I don't remember the word. You can only manage the feelings that you allow yourself to feel. So if I allow myself to feel sad, if I allow myself to feel anxiety, I'm able to understand myself more and where it comes from and how to comfort myself. But you can't know how to soothe yourself if you have not felt it. Um, it's like with anything, you don't know the good until you've experienced the bad, right? Um, so it's important to feel your feelings. It's easier said than done, especially when we're trying to be strong for other loved ones. It makes it really hard because we want to be there for them, and we feel like that means we can't cry, um, or we can't, fall apart. So feel your feelings. Um, time with real. Oh, so rest, of course. Rest is very important. Em- Grief is emotionally draining, which makes you feel physically drained, and then you're mentally drained. It's so it's draining on so many aspects. Your rest is so important. It really is. And I know sometimes it's hard, especially like for me as a parent, it was hard. I needed naps. I needed more than one nap. I needed to go to bed at a certain time, but it was challenging to do that with kids. Cuz some kids, my kids for sure, you can't just go to sleep. Cuz it's the house is going to be more than a mess, okay? Uh so but if you can, do the best you can to rest, sit down, relax as much as you can. It's very essential to your emotional and your mental health and your physical health, because grief takes a toll on all of those aspects of your body, your mind, and your emotions. The other thing is the last thing that I have written on here, which, like I said, there's so many more ways to heal, but this is the last thing I have written, is grieving is it's a process, right? But like I said, when you're at those lows, so they say, what the saying is, what my therapist said. I don't know the current the current um data on this, but my therapist says that what it is within the within the first 3 months of the loss, you should not be making any major decisions. So that's like buying a house, getting married, getting divorced, this, that. Like the big life major decisions should not be made within the first 3 months of the loss. And what I personally, I think that when you're at those lows, if you can wait to make a decision, wait. Because at the lows, I feel like our emotions are more in control. At the highs, it's easier to think clearer and more logically, but at the lows, I feel like we can be a little bit more irrational. Um, and so those are decisions, big life decisions are should not be made during those lows. Um, there's definitely so much more to dive into when it comes to grief. Um, and I will be diving more into the topic. I will separate them. Um, so I will separate the different types of griefs. Just like with boundaries, I'm going to separate the different types of boundaries, and I will talk about them over the months, over the weeks, because I do a podcast once a week. Um, so if there's anything specific you want to know, let me know, because I can add it to the next video on grief. Like I said, these are the first ones are just touching base. I'm going to go deeper, but like I said, these subjects are so broad and there's so much. Like I said, you can grieve the death of a person. You can grieve the idea of who you thought you would be, the life you thought you'd be living, or the life you thought you'd have with a loved one that you divorced or you had to let go or whatever. There's so many forms of loss, which means there's different ways to grieve things. Like I said, today I try to apply them, the stuff to all of the forms, but some stuff is more specific to death and some stuff is more specific to just loss. um but a lot of grief is processed similarly in our minds because it is an adaptation to a loss. It's an adaptation to um, things that impacted our lives so majorly. Um, so I hope this was helpful. I really hope that in your grief, whatever you're grieving, that you are taking care of yourself and you are acknowledging the fact that you are worthy of healing. You are deserving of feeling your feelings. It's okay to cry. You are worthy of love and comfort during this time. You're worthy of nurturing. Whatever you may be um, grieving, um, just know that there are people who care about you and who are there to support you. And just keep that in mind and use your affirmations to get you through. Use your positive self-talk to get you through, and just really, really, really listen to your body, listen to what you need, and do it. Sometimes we know we need rest, but we don't give ourselves rest. We know we need to eat, but we don't give ourselves food. And like I said, grieving takes such a toll on the mind, body, emotions, and it all wears on us. And so it is so essential to take care of ourselves and to love on ourselves. Um, that's it for now. Again, if you need someone to talk to, I do have chats available on my Patreon, which will be here. There isn't a specific one for grief, but just message me on there on Instagram. I got you. The other thing is Char. She specializes in connecting with people and helping them on their path. So just keep those things in mind. Remember to lean on those who you can trust and who are there for you. It's okay to ask for help. Um, that's it for today. Again, let me know what you want me to dive deeper into because I will for sure go over it the next time we talk about grief. All right, loves.